That protein powder you've been using every day. You picked it because it looked clean. The brand felt trustworthy. Maybe someone at the gym recommended it. But what if the tub you're scooping from twice a day is carrying lead, cadmium, and arsenic, and the label is giving you zero indication of that? What makes this worse is that in the United States, brands are largely responsible for testing themselves. Most of them decided not to do much of that. The Clean Label Project tested 134 protein powders and found heavy metals in 70% of them. These aren't unknown brands. They're the ones sitting in gym bags right now. 7 to avoid, 2 that actually held up. Top 7, Body Fortress Super Advanced Whey Protein. This is the affordable one, the bottom shelf Walmart tub that costs roughly half what the premium brands charge, which is exactly why it ends up in the hands of college students, budget gym goers, and athletes trying to hit their protein targets without draining their bank account. The price is the entire pitch. What most buyers don't know is who actually makes it. Body Fortress is owned by post-consumer brands, the breakfast cereal company, Frosted Mini Wheats, Honey Bunches of Oats. Protein powder is not their core business. It's a product line extended into a high-demand category where cutting formulation cost at every step makes obvious financial sense. That context alone is worth keeping in mind before you look at what's in the tub. Now here's something called protein spiking, and it matters specifically here. Standard protein testing measures nitrogen content and uses that number to calculate total protein. The problem is that cheaper amino acids like taurine, glycine, and creatine also contain nitrogen. Add them to a formula, and the nitrogen reading goes up. The nitrogen reading goes up, and the protein number on the label goes up with it. Even if the actual functional whey protein in the tub hasn't changed at all, the label looks better. The product hasn't improved. Body Fortress has been named in class action lawsuits specifically alleging this practice. Those lawsuits claim that when their products were independently tested for actual whey protein content, not total nitrogen, the functional protein was materially lower than what the label stated. The suits were settled. The product stayed on shelves with reformulated labeling. A college athlete scooping this twice a day because the label reads 50 grams of protein per serving is building their entire recovery math on a number that litigation has already called into question. They're trying to do the right thing. They're tracking their intake. They're training hard, and they're trusting the label. The information they're working with may not be giving them the full picture. When a lawsuit over what's actually in the container has already been settled, that belongs on the label. It doesn't, and most buyers have no idea it happened. Top 6, IsoPure Zero Carb Protein Powder. This is the one the keto crowd reaches for automatically. The one diabetics trust when they need protein without affecting blood sugar. Zero carb, zero sugar. That number on the front isn't just a feature for people managing their metabolic health with real daily precision. It's the reason they chose this product over everything else on the shelf. Now read the sweetener system. Sucralose is in the formula. Acetylsulfame potassium is in the formula. Both of them together in a product bought specifically by people tracking every variable that touches their metabolic response. The zero on the label refers to carbohydrates. It does not refer to artificial sweeteners. That distinction is not explained anywhere on the packaging. And for the audience this product is marketed to, it's a distinction that genuinely matters. Research published in Nature found that sucralose and saccharin altered gut microbiome composition and impaired glycemic response in human subjects. A separate study in the journal Cell found that certain participants showed blood glucose elevations from sucralose comparable to responses triggered by actual sugar consumption. These are not fringe studies. They're published in 2 of the most respected scientific journals in the world. For a diabetic drinking IsoPure every morning, because zero carb implies zero blood sugar impact, that finding is not a footnote. It's directly relevant to the daily decision they're making based on what that label communicates. They chose this product for a specific medical reason. The formula they're consuming every day may be working against that reason through a mechanism the label never mentions. Acetylsulfame potassium has been linked in animal research to potential effects on gut bacteria, balance, and cognitive function at chronic exposure levels. The European Food Safety Authority has formally called for additional human safety data on it. It's sitting in this formula alongside sucralose in a product consumed daily by the people most specifically focused on avoiding exactly this kind of unresolved uncertainty. Zero carb, not zero questions. And that gap between what the label implies and what the formula actually contains is what makes this worth understanding before you buy. Top 5 GNC AMP Whey Protein. This is the premium option, the one serious athletes pick up at GNC because the specialist store environment implies specialist level standards. Walking into GNC carries a specific implication. This is not the grocery store supplement shelf. This is a place with actual expertise behind the products. The AMP Whey line sits at the very top of GNC's own protein range, with a higher price, performance-forward language, and an unspoken promise that a product on the shelf cleared a bar the mass-market brands never had to clear. Here's what that specialist verification actually looked like in practice. In 2015, the New York State Attorney General sent cease and desist letters to GNC alongside other major supplement retailers. Independent testing had found that products sold under various labels did not contain the ingredients listed at the stated concentrations. GNC's own store brand products were part of those findings. The resulting settlement required GNC to implement new testing and verification protocols across its full product lineup. That investigation centered on botanical supplements. But what it revealed was bigger than any individual finding. It showed that one of the most trusted supplement retailers in America was selling products that independent testing found did not accurately reflect their labels. The specialist wasn't running specialist-level verification, and that's the foundation the premium pricing was built on. That's worth sitting with for a moment before you spend more at GNC because you assume the extra cost is buying you something better. Now look at the AMP Whey ingredient list. Sucralose is there, ACE's sulfame potassium is there, 2 artificial sweeteners in a product sold to athletes making precise, deliberate decisions about every ingredient they consume. The artificial flavors are listed as proprietary, sources not disclosed. An athlete paying a premium price specifically to take control of their nutrition inputs has no visibility into the flavoring compounds in what they're drinking every single day. Premium price, specialist store, undisclosed ingredients, a labeling accuracy investigation sitting in the background. Paying more at a specialist does not guarantee getting something cleaner. With this one, the evidence makes that gap pretty hard to ignore. Top 4, Orgain Organic Protein Powder. This is the one families trust, stocked at Target and Whole Foods simultaneously, which is not an accident. That dual retail presence is the brand's entire positioning strategy. Sit at the healthy end of accessible, reach the mainstream shopper and the health-conscious shopper at the same time. The founder is a physician and cancer survivor. That origin story is genuine, and it clearly resonates with the people who buy this. The USDA organic seal on every container delivers exactly the signal health-conscious parents are looking for. It goes in the cart without the label getting read further because the seal already feels like the answer to any question worth asking. The Clean Label Project tested Orgain Organic Protein Powder and found detectable levels of both lead and cadmium. Let that land for a second because the reaction most people have is confusion. If it's organic, how does it have heavy metals? That confusion is actually the most important thing to understand about this product. Here's the part the certification was never designed to cover. Heavy metals are naturally present in soil. They've accumulated there through decades of industrial activity, natural geological processes, and agricultural runoff. Plants absorb them through their root systems as they grow. It's a basic function of how plants take in nutrients. Organic farming prohibits synthetic pesticides and chemical fertilizers. That's meaningful and worth recognizing, but it cannot stop a plant from absorbing whatever heavy metals were already in the ground before the seed went in. A pea plant grown on certified organic land and soil that contains lead will absorb lead. The certification documents what was applied during farming. It says nothing about what was already there before farming began. Pea protein and brown rice protein, the 2 primary ingredients in Orgain's plant-based formula, are among the most consistently documented sources of elevated heavy metal content in this entire product category. Not because of careless sourcing, but because they are plants and plants pull from whatever the soil holds, organic certification or not. This is a structural issue with these specific ingredients, not a problem unique to Orgain. But Orgain is marketing directly to the audience most likely to assume the organic seal covers it. The parent buying Orgain because organic implies comprehensive safety is making a completely logical assumption. It's just an assumption the label was never built to support. The organic seal answers the pesticide question. It does not answer the heavy metal question. Those are two different questions, and the label only addresses one of them. That's the gap worth knowing before this one goes in the cart. Top 3 Optimum Nutrition Gold Standard. Weigh the best-selling protein powder on the planet, not just in America, but on Earth. Gold Standard built that position across decades of consistent marketing, near-universal retail availability, and a price point accessible enough to make it the default starting point for gym beginners and the long-term comfortable habit for experienced athletes. Walk into any gym, any supplement store, any big box retailer with a health section, and Gold Standard is there. The name does serious work before the lid even comes off. Gold Standard implies a ceiling, the reference point everything else in the category gets measured against. Worth knowing before anything else. Optimum Nutrition is owned by Glanbia, a large Irish multinational nutrition corporation managing multiple supplement brands across global markets. The Gold Standard name belongs to a conglomerate's product portfolio, not an independent company with a singular focus on what's inside the tub. That's not automatically a problem, but it does mean the incentive structure is different from what the brand's heritage positioning might suggest. Open the tub. Sucralose, acesulfame, potassium. The same two artificial sweeteners that appeared in the GNC product together in the same formula in the protein powder, more people consume daily than any other on Earth. Artificial flavors from undisclosed sources. The Double Rich Chocolate, the best-selling flavor in the entire line, carries a flavoring system the label describes only as natural and artificial flavors. What those compounds are, where they come from, and what their effects look like at this scale of daily consumption across millions of users. That information doesn't appear anywhere on the packaging, and the brand is not required to provide it. Now here's the detail that matters most for anyone who bought this specifically because they noticed a certification on the label. NSF Certified for Sport appears on some Gold Standard products, not all of them. The certification varies by flavor and by retail channel. Someone buying Double Rich Chocolate at Costco is not necessarily buying the NSF certified version. The brand name is identical. The tub design is identical. The certification status is not. And there is nothing prominent on the packaging to make that distinction clear to the average shopper. Think about how many people bought Gold Standard specifically because they saw NSF Certified for Sport on a version of this product somewhere, assumed it applied to the entire line, and have been buying uncertified versions ever since without knowing. The actual Gold Standard in this category means independent third-party certification applied consistently across every product, every flavor, every market without exception. Gold Standard Whey does not meet that bar uniformly. The name says it does. The product line doesn't deliver it. The world's best-selling protein powder is not the world's most consistently tested one, and most people buying it have no idea those are two different things. Top 2 Vega Sport Premium Protein. This is the one plant-based athletes trust most, and the story behind the brand is genuinely unusual in this industry. Brendan Brazier was a professional Ironman triathlete who couldn't find a plant-based protein that held up to what elite endurance training actually demands. So he built one himself. That founding premise is real, and it built real loyalty among vegan athletes and health-conscious consumers who trusted the brand because the person who created it had direct personal stakes in whether it performed. That kind of origin is rare in the supplement space where most brands are created by marketing teams, not by athletes solving real problems. Then the ownership changed. Vega Sport Premium Protein is now a product of WhiteWave, a Danone subsidiary. The branding still carries Brendan Brazier's story front and center. The ownership structure is a large French multinational food corporation whose primary business is conventional dairy products. The independent athlete-founded company became a line item in a global food conglomerate's portfolio. The person whose face and story sell this product is no longer the person responsible for what goes in it, and that transition is not on the label. Then the Clean Label Project published its findings. Vegasport Premium Protein showed some of the highest heavy metal concentrations of any product in the entire study. Lead and cadmium at levels above California's Proposition 65 daily safe harbor limits in a plant-based protein marketed specifically to health-conscious athletes who chose plant-based nutrition in part because they believed it was the more mindful, cleaner option. Pea protein and brown rice protein, the primary sources in Vegasport, are both extensively documented as concentrators of heavy metals from agricultural soil. The organic certification on some Vega products doesn't change this. The athlete-focused branding doesn't change this. The founder's story doesn't change this. The heavy metals are present because of how those specific plants grow. And that reality holds regardless of who originally built the company or who signs the checks now. A vegan athlete who switched to Vegasport specifically to move away from contamination concerns in conventional whey protein may be carrying a heavier heavy metal load than they would from a properly tested whey isolate. That is the direct, practical consequence of this finding. Plant-based does not automatically mean cleaner. In the heavy metal category for certain plant protein formulations, the evidence suggests the opposite can be true. The founder built something with genuine intention. The corporation that acquired it has not maintained the testing standards that intention actually requires. Top 1 Muscle Milk Genuine Protein Powder. It's in every gym, every GNC, every Walmart supplement aisle. The chocolate shake in the clear bottle. The brand that became synonymous with post-workout recovery for an entire generation of American athletes. High school, college, recreational, professional. Muscle Milk didn't get there through niche targeting. It got there by being everywhere, recognized by everyone, and purchased on autopilot by millions of people who equated the name with legitimate sports nutrition. For a lot of people, Muscle Milk didn't feel like a supplement. It felt like a standard part of training, like a water bottle or a gym bag. That level of cultural recognition is exactly why this needs to be stated plainly. Consumer Reports tested Muscle Milk in 2010 and found lead, cadmium, and arsenic at concentrations that exceeded California's Proposition 65 daily safe harbor limits. Not one heavy metal slightly over a threshold, all three simultaneously, in the same product being consumed twice a day by people who believed it was accelerating their recovery. The company disputed the findings. The product stayed on shelves. The athletes kept drinking it. Here's why this isn't just about one test result from 15 years ago. Heavy metals don't clear the body between workouts. They accumulate in tissue over time. Lead concentrates in bone. Cadmium concentrates in the kidneys. Arsenic concentrates in skin, hair, and nails. A reading that clears a single exposure threshold becomes a completely different conversation when that exposure is happening twice daily, every day for months or years. In someone whose entire goal is to build and repair body tissue as efficiently as possible, the accumulation works in the exact opposite direction of what the product is supposed to do. You're trying to build, the heavy metals are stacking up in the process. After the Consumer Reports findings, independent testing continued to detect heavy metal content in Muscle Milk products. The Clean Label Project's comprehensive protein powder study flagged Muscle Milk across multiple testing metrics. The brand has never released comprehensive independent third-party heavy metal testing results in a format that lets consumers actually verify anything. Not a published lab report, not a third-party audit with accessible results. Nothing a buyer can look up and check. Think about who is actually drinking this. The parent handing it to their 15-year-old after football practice, because the coach mentioned recovery nutrition and protein is right there on the label. The college athlete who has used it every single day for 3 years because it's available everywhere, it's affordable, and everyone on the team has one. They're not being careless. They're being uninformed, and they're being uninformed about a product that has been tested multiple times by independent organizations and flagged multiple times for the same issue. Muscle Milk spent decades building one of the most recognized names in fitness while making sure that information never had to compete with the branding. 3 heavy metals above California's daily safe limits, all at once in the most recognized protein brand in American fitness culture. That's why it's #1 on this list. Now that you know what to avoid and why it matters, here's where the investigation gets useful. Two brands submitted to the independent testing that exposes everything the others sidestepped. Both passed. Here's what passing actually looks like. Top 2, Best Garden of Life, Sport Organic Plant-Based Protein. If you use plant-based protein and everything you just heard about Vega Sport and Organ has you looking at the tub on your counter differently, this is the answer. 4 independent certifications on a single product, not 4 logos assembled for a marketing campaign. Each one required submitting the product to a completely separate third-party organization for its own independent audit, its own laboratory testing process, and its own ongoing compliance requirements that don't end after the first approval. You can't purchase placement on these lists. You submit, you get tested, and you either pass or you don't appear. NSF Certified for Sport, the same independent heavy metal screening and label accuracy verification that Vega Sport never put its product through and that the Clean Label Project findings made a compelling case it should have. Garden of Life Sport submitted. It passed. USDA Organic Certified, Non-GMO Project Verified, and Informed Sport Certified. A separate European third-party credential used specifically by professional athletes competing under international anti-doping frameworks. 4 organizations, 4 independent audits, 4 separate sets of standards that all have to be met continuously, not just once at launch and then forgotten. No sucralose, no acesulfame potassium, no artificial flavors. The protein sources are certified organic pea protein and sprouted grain protein. And critically, the NSF Certified for Sport requirement specifically includes heavy metal screening that directly targets the contamination concern that flagged both Vega Sport and Organ in independent testing. Garden of Life Sport went through that exact test. It passed. For anyone who has been buying Orgain because the organic seal implied comprehensive safety, 4 independent certifications from 4 separate auditing organizations tell you more about what's actually in that container than any single seal was ever designed to communicate. The heavy metal tests that caught others on this list did not catch this one. Top 1 Best Thorn. Whey protein isolate. This is the strongest recommendation on the entire list. And before anything else, the certification on this product is worth explaining properly because most people don't understand what it actually represents. And the difference between a certified product and a self-reported one is the entire point of this investigation. NSF Certified for Sport is not a label a company puts on its own packaging. It is not a claim a marketing team writes after checking an internal spreadsheet. It requires physically submitting the product to NSF International for controlled independent laboratory analysis. NSF tests for over 270 substances banned in professional sport. It verifies that what the label says is in the container is actually what's in the container. It screens specifically for heavy metal contamination, the exact issue that flagged multiple brands on this list. The brand doesn't run these tests. An independent external organization does, and the results are published by NSF, not by the company selling the product. That distinction is everything. Thorne's Whey Protein Isolate carries that certification consistently across every batch, which is what made Gold Standard's inconsistent certifications so notable by comparison. No sucralose, no acesulfame potassium, no artificial flavors from undisclosed sources. The ingredient list is short enough to read in under 10 seconds. Protein content is independently verified, not self-reported. Heavy metal screening is documented by a third party, not implied by a promise on the packaging. Thorne supplies supplements to professional sports organizations, including Major League Baseball and the PGA Tour. Those organizations are not choosing supplement partners based on label design or brand recognition. They're choosing based on testing documentation that holds up under professional anti-doping scrutiny, where a failed test ends careers and triggers formal investigations. Thorne clears that bar consistently, which is why organizations with that much at stake trust it. For someone in cancer treatment whose body cannot handle additional toxic load from a daily supplement, for a pregnant woman who needs verified clean sourcing in everything she consumes, for an athlete who has spent years using one of the 7 brands above, and is now making a different decision with better information? This is what the independent testing supports. The price is higher than everything on the avoid list. That's not a coincidence, and it's not just a margin decision. Independent third-party verification costs more than a brand simply telling you what it wants you to believe. The difference in price is the difference between knowing what's in the tub and assuming. After everything on this list, that difference should feel concrete. 7 brands, different price points, different packaging, different brand stories, the same core failures appearing across all of them. Heavy metals in products consumed twice daily by people trying to build and repair their bodies. Protein content concerns that reach the level of settled litigation. Artificial sweeteners in formulas sold to the people published, research suggests should be most cautious about them. An organic certification that covers pesticide use and leaves heavy metal contamination completely unaddressed. A specialist retailer whose own branded products were found to have labeling accuracy problems in a state attorney general investigation. The world's best-selling protein powder with inconsistent third-party certification across its own product line. A plant-based brand built on a genuine athlete story, now owned by a multinational dairy conglomerate, flagged for some of the highest heavy metal ratings in the Clean Label Project study, and the most recognized protein brand in American fitness, with 3 heavy metals above California's safe daily limits, simultaneously in a product millions of people drink before they train. Muscle Milk, GNC AMP Waybolic, Optimum Nutrition, Gold Standard, Body Fortress, Orgain, Isopure, Vega Sport. 2 brands went through the independent process that exposes everything the others avoided. Thorn for Whey, Garden of Life Sport for plant-based. Independently tested, certified, ingredient list short enough to read before your pre-workout kicks in. Go find the tub that's in your kitchen right now. Look for NSF Certified for Sport on the label. If it's not there, you're working from what the brand decided to tell you, not from independently verified results. If this investigation helped you make a better decision today, passing it to someone using one of these products is the most useful thing you can do with it. Your body is doing the work every single day. Make sure what you're putting in it is actually working with you. If this breakdown changed the way you look at the supplements in your cabinet, please subscribe and like the video. We are uncovering the hidden truths that the industry tries to keep buried. Protect your health and fuel your future. Our next deep dive into the secrets of the wellness world is coming soon.